Hi, Gert. Uh, that's gonna be. Oh, you don't do a show for a week and you lose your mind. Yeah,
Well,
welcome
it's been
back.
a busy week in various ways. So,
Yeah, a lot's happened.
mhm.
Um, we're both very tired. I spent. I think I was up processing our sounder show, and I took a nap for like 7 hours. Yeah, so Um, I guess we're recovering from the weekend, or at least I was, and
Yeah.
being in the sun because I think my son, I don't have a child yet, except him. Um, my head's still peeling from being in the Peoria sun. So, welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Seattle Kraken. Um, I did the right point this time. I almost went to the wrong side. Jayd, Charles, we're back. This Kraken team, we're getting down the stretch for a good chunk of teams in the NHL. They're either trying to really secure their spot, in the playoffs, they're fighting for better seeding. Some teams are still fighting for wild card spots, including a couple of the like mediocre ones in the Pacific Division. Not Seattle. We're kind of in purgatory right now. We're in oh shoot, I don't remember what book it was. I read it a lot growing up. The Doldrums. What book is this? No, it's not the Doldrums. The Doldrums are mentioned in this book that I'm thinking of. Um, but the Kraken are kind of there. It's like they don't have anything to play for really. They really
Hmm.
shouldn't be winning. Um, but also like as Jayd pointed out in a group chat we're in, hello Milo and Max and friends. Um, two mentions for well, one mention for each of them. Um, this draft isn't particularly deep. So like I don't know, a top five pick will still probably get you an important player, but
It's just not going to be the same as it was last year, where,
no.
the first, I can't even remember how many, but quite a few of the first picks were really good. Obviously, last year the Kraken took Berkeley Catton, eighth overall, and he's, I'm sure, we're going to see some more of him in the next season or two. But like even that, that's still a player that you have to take time to develop. And I think that this year is going to be a whole lot more of player development than anything. And even then, there's a good chance that they're never going to see the NHL.
Yeah, which makes it interesting, right? Because um, there's that, depending on what happens over the course of the next few weeks, Seattle, again, could be sitting with a top five pick.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but also, with how much talk there's been about the summer, who's to say they even use that,
Yep.
right? So, yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's been interesting because we look at the past 2 weeks um, for this franchise. You know, you play a couple of the best teams in the league in Washington, Winnipeg. Uh, yeah, what's throw Edmonton there? Almost through Minnesota, but they're so banged up, and they still beat the shit out of the Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a few wins in there. You've got some good games against good teams, but you really should be losing them. Um, I guess I'm kind of glad that they lost the ones that they should. So, it's an interesting spot. We'll talk about that. Jani Nyman's call up is still recent enough, and there's some line changes that Jade told me she's not a fan of. So I'm interested in that. And we'll look at that. And then we'll look at the week ahead as it was interesting. It makes sense because of the travel, but they're on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
They played 3 road games. They came back for a practice today, and then they flew out to Calgary to play tomorrow. So um we'll get to it. This past week games, yeah, man. We'll go over this. So what the last time that we talked was on the 10th, right? And they had just lost to Washington. Um, you go and call up Jani Nyman, which I wasn't he wasn't the top of my list of expectations for
Mm-hmm.
call-ups, but I'm not complaining. Makes his debut in that Montreal game. And he's been with the team since, so that's 6 games. Okay. Yeah, I'm not complaining about that. Um, so you beat Montreal in overtime. That's right. That was the Brandon Montour game.
Yep.
What, 4 points? That man just hates the Canadians, which, hey, all power to you. Um, you get the Jani Nyman the debut goal. You get Brandon Montour playing out of his mind. Um, Seattle giving up 3 goals in the second period, and I was like, God damn it! Like, why are you this way? Um, and you know, Seattle comes back. They do the whole miraculous thing. Matty Beniers gets a tip in late. I remember I was still trying because we cross post on Twitter threads, Blue Sky. I've been doing the Instagram stories too. So because
Hmm.
we know we've got different audiences on different places. I'm still like, because Blue Sky takes a while to process them. I'm still posting the Beniers goal. Overtime starts and Brandon Montour scores. I'm like, God damn it! Like I didn't get any of that. I didn't get Joey jumping on them again.
Hmm.
Brandon Montour, be more considerate. Don't. Yeah. So that was. I remember Jayd tweeting it after the game. That was the fastest overtime goal in NHL history. I think it was tied for the fastest goal to start a period of all time.
I
Um,
believe so, yeah. But yeah, it was 4 seconds in, which I think
on
the previous record was like 5 or 6 seconds or something. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, because I think initially in the arena it was listed as 5 seconds, but I think when we
Hmm.
got downstairs they changed it to 4. Um, Montreal fans were upset because they said Brandon Montour like jumped off sides. And sure, that's fine. But if we're doing that, Uri Slavkovsky's second goal shouldn't have gone in or counted rather because of a high stick.
Hmm.
So I mean we can
I
pick and choose
also,
all we want.
just for posterity, I did end up going and watching that entire face off and goal um, probably 5 times over the next morning when I saw the discourse about it on my timeline on Twitter. And
Mhm.
I ended up screen recording the video, saving the video, and zooming in as far as possible. And the puck is down, but the angle that the camera was at, it doesn't quite look like it is. And because of how quick Chandler Stevenson is on faceoffs, typically, it was to Montour before I can't remember which Canadian took the face off, but it was to Montour before he even realized that the puck wasn't in front of him. So there was quite a few things going on, but I did end up going back and watching it over because I was curious mostly. So,
Yeah, that was a whole thing. Like I saw a little bit of the night of, and I was like, I
mhm.
don't care. Like, fuck
Yeah,
you guys. Honestly, shut up.
I tend to not care, but then, curiosity gets the best of me. So,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that makes sense. Um, yeah, God, that whole thing. So there was that game. 2 days later, they beat Utah. And I almost said the Soakers again. I just did. There you go. They beat Utah, which is funny because this is another game. We're gonna get a lot of these down the course of the season. Seattle doesn't need this game. Unimportant. Utah does need this game.
mhm.
Seattle wins 2 goals in the third period, eventually pushed them over the edge, get them to victory here. Ellie Tolvanen starts things off to make it a 20-goal season. So it's a career high for Tolvanen. I remember post game though. I remember I was looking at Tolvanen's totals. I think his highest in a season was 16. And in the post game availability, he kept saying his highest was 19. I was like, I don't know what you're like math.
Math.
Yeah, it was. Brendan Montour continued to stay hot with a deflection. Capo got a wraparound. I was like, I didn't know, you're a big man. Like
Mhm.
when I think of wraparounds, I don't think of a big dude doing it. But hey, all power to you. And then Tolvi gets the empty netter to put this game on ice. Maybe was great in this one. I was gonna say, I don't think he played the Montreal game, right? Uh, but since he's come back, um, outside of the Minnesota game, and that one we'll discuss. Yeah, I mean, he's been able to track the puck well. Like everything I heard on the press, I almost said press row, which yeah, that counts for press bridge. A row can be on a bridge.
Hmm.
Um, During the Utah game was that he looked good. He was tracking the puck well. Reaction time was good. So I mean, no complaints there. He looked good in that one. And then the fucking God damn it. I've said this throughout the course of the show. This team will get up for the great teams. I don't know why. Year
Hmm.
one, they beat Carolina here. No idea why. There was the win streak in year two where I think they shut out the Maple Leafs on the road. Um, they beat Boston on the road. Yeah, that road trip, Martin Jones decided to play out of his mind. You
Hmm.
know, you can throw the Winter Classic in there because they beat Vegas and they shut them out on the national stage. Um, and this year it was playing the Winnipeg Jets, the league's best team, to overtime or within seconds of it 3 times.
Hmm.
What is that? Like, you're bad. Be bad.
Yeah.
That's and Jade's heard this all year. I want you to be consistent.
Hmm.
And they say no. I'm like, if you're gonna be bad, be consistently bad. You're gonna be
Yep.
good somehow. Be consistently good.
Hmm.
If you're gonna be mediocre, they don't want to pick. They're up and down and here and
Yeah.
there. I don't. So that was the interesting part over this stretch because you beat Montreal, you beat Utah. Again, Montreal's not bad either. They're also fighting for a spot too, if I'm
Hmm.
correct. Or they were in one recently. They're in the hunt is the point. Utah is looking for one. Winnipeg's the best team in the league. You lose, you get a point out of them. Then you kick the shit out of Chicago after looking bad to begin the game. So that's a point in 4 consecutive games. You don't need points. This is
Hmm.
bad. Stop.
Yeah.
um, the Winnipeg game, before I get ahead of myself, was somewhat interesting. I mean, it's Brendan Tanev's return. Everyone gets all excited about that. I don't.
Hmm.
Um,
Me too.
and the Winnipeg game was extra interesting because they scored the first 2 goals of the game. Jani Nyman gets his second on the power play. That snapshot, that great shot of his, we continue to hear about. Unsurprisingly, gets used. Mikey Acimont, icy if you choose so much.
Hmm.
Um, Gets the second one, and Seattle's leading 2-0 with less than 30 seconds to go before Cole Perfetti gets one that was just, I think he was just completely open. Like, well, that's not good.
Yeah.
It's just not great. And it was kind of weird looking at the shots at this one. Neither team got more than 11 outside of one period, and that was Winnipeg in the third period. Um, just so bizarre. So I mean, hey, great shot suppression. Kyle Connor gets one to tie it in the second period. Dylan Sandberg gets the OT winner. Just kind of similar to how things happened the first time around in Seattle as an OT winner was the difference against Winnipeg. Then back when you way early into the season, yeah, it was right before Jordan Eberle got hurt.
Hmm.
I don't get them, Jade. I really don't.
I've never understood. I've actually given up on trying to understand them at this point.
I think that's a good way to view it because
Yep.
they just so they do that. Um, they go into Chicago to begin this 4 game road trip, and they give up 2 goals early. And I said, okay, here's the regression. They're gonna
Hmm.
start. You won 2 of the last 3. You got points in the last 3. Let's fall back off.
Yep.
No, they Connor Bedard scores. I remember I had just sat down in my hotel in Peoria. I didn't even have the game on the TV yet. Connor Bedard scores and the group chat's going crazy. I go, oh boy, god damn it. Tyler Bertuzzi of all people scores. I said, oh boy, this is gonna be a game. Adam Larson gets a goal right before the period ends. And I said, oh, okay. My eyes, what's remnant still of my eyebrows raised. I said, okay, all right. Um, and then the second period happens, and they score 4 goals. They decide, hey, fuck it. Like, I remember how to ball now.
Hmm.
Goals from Eberle, McCann, Beniers, and Wright. Push it forward. Shane gets the second one somewhat early in the third period. I thought we might get Shane Wright hat trick watch. And I might open Seath because there's actually, yeah, we'll throw that into the talk about the lines because there's the Shane Wright fourth line talk, which we might have
The
touched on, but
discourse.
it's discourse. And they get that one. And then comes the second game of a back-to-back, and they're 0-11, the second game of back-to-backs now, where they laid a complete egg in the first period against Minnesota. I almost said Minnesota. I'm thinking of Sean Monahan, I guess. Um, a likely thing. I don't know. Give up 3 goals against in that first period. They just looked so out of sorts. Like, I get that it's the second game of a back to back, but they looked like, a roller hockey team or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was really horrible. All of these goals came before the first the 5 minute mark into the game. Like Liam Ogren's goal was at 4:29
Hmm.
for the third, like totally bizarro. And I said this on our Sounder show for something different. I guess this past week I'm feeling extra spicy. Maybe it's because my head got cooked, but I know I shouldn't engage in stupid discourse, like stupid people discourse. But there was someone blaming this on Philip Grubauer, and I was like, hey, when people are open right in front of your goalie,
Hmm.
kind of a bad thing, kind of
Yeah.
something that shouldn't happen and has happened like too often this year for them. And it was all it was like, oh, I could have made it. Well, when then there was also this discourse about how Joey would have made the saves. I'm like, sure, maybe, but as it's been said since last season when Joey Decord really kind of emerged,
Hmm.
um, for you at this level, that's not sustainable. For one,
Yep.
no good hockey team should be like Winnipeg doesn't purely rely on Connor Hellebuck to save their ass every single game. It's not
Hmm.
like one of the greatest goalies in the world. That's not how they operate. Oh, excuse me. Not to directly compare Joey Decord and Connor Hellebuck. Um, but also too, the other thing, Seattle, you go through this game, they didn't score flat out. Like
Yeah.
the Gus Bus served them a fat shutout. Um, in this one, like I don't know, and we've talked about this Jade on the show many a time about how the defensive structure for this team has looked just out of whack this season.
Hmm.
So yeah, that game, normally I think in a vacuum you could throw this game out. You're playing the Wild, you're on the road in the second game of back to back, sure, whatever.
Yep.
But given how shit you've been in back to backs, how banged up Minnesota was going into this game, and then into the game itself, um, and just with how they looked so poorly, to begin, like teams will lose second game of back to back, and maybe it's because they like in the third period they're gassed or throughout
Hmm.
the game they're gassed. But to look so terrible to begin the game, again, the first 5 minutes, he's ugly. And then Edmonton, an Oilers team without two of the best players in the world. Um, and I don't like this. I don't like it. They got nuged. Hate it. Do not like it. I'm all for. I'm a very. Charles is very pro 8 teams in bio. Don't like the Oilers support, Jay. I don't like it.
Sorry.
Yucky.
It's not even for the record, not even
Look at
full
this.
support. I
Look
know,
at
but
it.
I really like Nuge. I don't know.
Hey,
He's fun
fair
to
enough.
watch,
Um,
except for not really when he's destroying the
Giving you
team
a
you
near dick
support.
trick.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Um, I mean, you come out of the first period tied. Capo Caco gets a power play goal. Like with how poorly Seattle's looked against Edmonton their entire existence,
Hmm.
I'm fine on the road going into the second period tied at 1. But yeah, that second period, 3 goals against. Goddamn Jeff Skinner. Ryan Nugent Hopkins gets a power play goal. Just not gonna look good. Andre Burakovsky scored on like an
Yeah.
actual goal. The puck didn't like hit his ass and go in.
Yep. When that happened, I have shit falling all over my room. It's
See what
fine.
happens when Andre Burakovsky scores? The world is out of balance.
Yeah.
He like it was an actual shot, and I was like, "Hey, it's It's those like video edits of players like looking vintage, and then it clips to them when they were actually good. Someone
Yeah.
should have done that for Berkey because like, ooh,
Um,
wait, I'm gonna add that as a discourse because I've talked about this that we've talked about this Jade throughout the show about how they should move on from Berkey. I'm worried that they're not going to.
I have been thinking about that.
So we'll discourse that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seattle made this one close. I mean, they scored to make it a one goal game near 6 minutes in. They couldn't get a tire. Nuge got his hat trick on an empty netter. Oh, it was shorthanded too. That's right. Oh yeah, because they pulled the goalie with the power play. And people were
Hmm.
like, why are you doing that? I'm like, points don't matter, so stop. They shouldn't be winning anyway.
Hmm.
Why not?
Yep.
And then Jaden Schwartz did the thing like he did he almost did it in Vancouver where he scored a goal miraculously to put them within one again. And I said, oh boy, they're gonna actually force overtime. They didn't,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was that. So before we get to discourse on lines and Berkey and fourth line Shane, I've yapped a lot. Um, where are you at with just how these past week of games have gone? It could have been what you enjoyed seeing, your thoughts on these games. I know you missed a couple of the in-person ones.
Hmm.
Um, what do you take from these? Because again, it's just the Seattle Kraken continue to be the why can't you just be normal? And then it's the child screaming.
Yeah.
They don't know what they want to be.
Um, I guess like you said, the biggest thing is stop trying to force points. Just embrace, I don't know. I don't even want to say embrace the tank because it's not, that's also not really worth it, but there's no, I guess embrace the tank at this point is really what they should be doing. I don't know. I haven't been super impressed with the way that they've been playing. Um, I don't know. I feel like a broken record with them lately, where what have you thought about the past week? And it's just the same thing over and over. Just be consistent, please. Be normal, be consistent. That's pretty much it.
The year that they're normal will just be so bizarre. Be like,
Yeah,
wow, this is peace.
I'm not going to know what to do.
I'm out of. I was gonna say I don't know what to say, but that's kind of our whole job.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. Like it's always funny too explaining to people that don't really know about the Kraken, explaining their existence and why they are where they are.
Mhm.
Because people, it's always funny to it's like repeating the same thing for 300 the 300th time, and then in their life they're like, oh, and it's all starts to click for them.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. Again, with all that being said, and I've felt this way dating back to I guess after the first few months when it kind of was more clear that things were not going to go well. I still think they can do well if they retool properly. But that's
Mhm.
putting a lot of faith in the front office that hasn't done enough to really earn that faith. So,
Yep.
yeah, let's get to this to Berkey discourse because you know again you're let's we'll pull up the good old Puckpedia in the GM mode so I can play with this again. Um, because you already have about $21 million in cap space, right? And oh, there's a giant ad. Puckpedia, why do you do this to me? Um 25, 26. Okay. Gonna be the Seattle Kraken, unfortunately. I am not a robot. You're gonna have about I have to make a name. Jade says hi. I don't you're getting subjected to that.
Okay.
Um you're gonna have about $21 million. You've got all those draft picks. Yeah, they showed me all the draft picks. And you've got the Puckpedia here has what? Eight forwards on roster, including Andre Burakovsky, who has slunked down to the third line. Oh wait, actually, I'm gonna put the current lines together. So Schwartz, Wright, Eberly. That's not a bad line. Neiman. Nope, that's wrong. Newman, Beniers, Kako. Um, anyway, let me get to this. You can free up how much money? So we buy out Andre Burakovsky, okay? That pushes you up to 24, just about $24.5 million. That probably helps you eat a with the cap going up as well, that probably helps you eat up whatever salary that Apple Kako is going to take up
Hmm.
and leaves you still the $21 million to do whatever you want to do with Riker Evans. And it won't affect you bringing in Mikey Asimon if you want to bring him back, because I mean, I don't know, he's not getting too much, right? Um, I'm worried, Jayd, about this because I've had this conversation with a few different people at the organization, and it's nothing clear about what they're gonna do, but those conversations and this franchise's resistance to admitting that they're wrong make me think that they'll I look down and Jade's doing the like flatline smile cat face. Um, that again, this goes back to me being super surprised that they sent Philip Grubauer down because they don't admit that they're wrong. They hardly ever do.
Hmm.
They did the half-ass thing last off season where they're like, "Oh, well, we did try to." I was having this conversation the other day actually about the Kraken, explaining about them. Um, you know, After year two, you nearly make the Western Conference final, right?
Hmm.
With a group of ragtag little guys. And naturally, if I'm a general manager, we're putting the bald guy in the seat. I'm adding to this roster how I can to push them over the edge because I know I cannot bank on them all repeating what they did.
Hmm.
Nope. Here's Pierre-Edouard Belmar. Here's Kyler Yamamoto. Uh, they'll call it good. Oh, like that wasn't good. And I remember, I think it was last offseason, Ron said that they tried to swing for big fish that offseason and they just couldn't get it done. And I brought this up, I think, for our deadline show, Jayd, but
Hmm.
they've had so many players available in the trade market as well that they did not go after, they did not get close to, or they didn't get super close to, like one of them who I was gonna say this, but I didn't, there's no way to bring it up. Jacob Trickeren apparently is trying to not use light bulbs in his house. Um, Dylan, it was a thing that Dylan Strome said. Dylan Strome says that Jacob Chikrin's new thing is that he wants to have no light bulbs in his house. Okay, buddy. Like this is amulet level psychosis. Like, let's calm down. Um,
You know what? I kind of respect that because I also hate big light. I'm a big
big
lamp
lights.
person. Yeah, I don't like big lights. They hurt my head.
I learn something new every day against my will. I want to cease learning. But yeah, right. Like in the avenues of adding talent outside of prospects, which is the long term way,
Hmm.
they haven't done that. And RJ with Emerald City Hockey says this all the time on their shows, whether it's the deep dive, their podcast, or the GM shows. There are ways to acquire superstars, and it's really drafting them or rarely trading or signing them because they don't
Hmm.
hit the free agent market that often, and they hardly ever become available. That's why like what the Eichel trade was such a big deal. The Rantanen trades,
Hmm.
plural, like it doesn't happen, you know. That's why if Leon was going to become available and that German fellow wanted to leave Edmonton, I said you throw the house at him. You give
Yep.
Leon Draisaitl anything he wants to come to Seattle, and he decided to stay in Edmonton. That's fine. I didn't want you anyway.
It's kind of the same as
Uh,
Wyatt Johnston too, how he re-signed
mm,
on trade deadline day. And, there was I saw quite a bit of speculation about like, well, what if he doesn't? Where's he gonna go? What teams are gonna make a grab at him? And that sounded really predatory, the way that I just worded that. Anyways,
Jesus.
um, And similar thing, if you want a good team, you have to, like you said, throw everything at them. You can have it all if you come to Seattle. And that's a player that I feel like that about is Wyatt Johnston, Leon Draisaitl, Mikko Rantanen if he hadn't signed in Dallas, like if that hadn't have worked out. There's a handful of players that I feel like that about, that just do whatever it takes to get them here.
Mhm. Yep. And until that happens. So yeah, sorry. So they're gonna have the ability to do this sort of thing. I don't know who's gonna become available because it's not super clear really in season. What the hell? Um, it's not. Oh, yeah. There's this guy who likes to like keep commenting. Oh, yeah, he's still doing it on our like video of Aaron Ambrose from when the Montreal Victoire were here for the takeover tour, and it's just like names of movies. Okay, that's just weird. He's still doing it. He's done this twice. Um, oh yeah, you're gonna have draft capital. You already have it. You have all this cap space. You can have more if you move on from the guys that I think you should move on from. Um, but I don't think they will. Like, I think the Grubauer buyout needs Milo to cover his ears. Sorry, Milo. Um, it's imminent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was gonna happen anyway. He just commented again. What movie is it now? Jet City. Shut up. Weird. Um, it was imminent before, just with the contract, with them giving Joey the extension. That's why when I see people be like, "Oh, get Swayman," no, that
Mm-hmm.
like as good as he is, that's
Well,
still too much money in the crease. You want to play Joey like a 1A because you signed him to be a 1A. And if you get Swayman, you can't play him like a bench guy. Like
mm-hmm.
it doesn't make sense. If they didn't have Joey Decord right now, then sure, I'd understand that. But they do.
Mm-hmm. I also wouldn't understand that, but that's feelings that I'm not going to put on this show.
I almost grabbed the wrong one. I said Joey Decord and I almost grabbed Phil. Sorry, Phil. I almost threw Joey on the ground. Oh my God. I'm no better than the Kraken defense.
Joey
Um,
abuse.
so like that's and especially after the Coachella Valley thing, I don't think that relationship's great. I think it's just in the best interest for that to split.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would say the same about Andre Burakovsky because, excuse me, it unfortunately hasn't worked. The first half of his first year here looked great. He was scoring goals, he was getting points. He looked dynamic. He like rips his groin the first period, the first shift, even after the trade deadline, and he has not been the same since.
Yep.
Um, and we've done the thing where we say, okay, he just needs his confidence back. It's
It's
been the
just not
full
coming back in
season.
it. Yeah.
Oh, um,
And that's, I feel like, obviously sports injuries are hard. I have never played a professional sport. I frankly did not do many sports growing up. I danced instead. But I do know what having a sport related injury is like because I ripped apart my knee when I was a kid. And you look at guys like Burakovsky who have had this injury. He was out for a bit, he's back, not playing the same. And then you can compare it to guys like Vince Dunn, where he's been out for extended periods of time, what the past 2 seasons, and he comes back uh, and not immediately goes on, a heater, but like comes back pretty strong and confident. And there's plenty of other guys around the league that have done the same thing where they're out for a bit, they come back, they do really good. Jack Hughes is a good example. He got his last season cut. If I had $1 for every time I brought up the Hughes on this show, I would have so many dollars, and I don't even like them. Anyways, he had a season cut short last year, came back really strong this year, had a season cut short for, I think, the same or similar injury this year. I'm sure next year he's going to come back super strong. And so I feel like there's definitely something to be said, maybe as far as support within the organization goes, I don't know, but for a player not coming back as strong as you would think that they could or should um, following an injury, especially when it's been one full season now.
Yeah. Um, and I like,
And that's not taking away, obviously, from injuries suck. They
yeah,
unfortunately happen. They suck. And, it's unfortunate that hasn't bounced back the way that, the fans and everybody hoped for. But sometimes that just is what it is.
that's just how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but on the other side of that, I think it's unfortunately just gonna be how, because where is he at points wise? Let's undo this last transaction. We're keeping him on the roster. Because I don't think there's multiple pieces of this. I don't think they have the ability to admit that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Um, they're gonna do it with Grubauer, but I don't think they're willing to do it twice. Oh God, I opened the NHL media site and it's playoff clinching scenarios. Piss off. Piss off, why don't you? Um, I just need to see the one that says how Seattle can be eliminated so I can
Same.
get
I'm
over
really
with it.
excited for that one.
Jesus Christ. Uh, no, the only one is that the Jets will clinch a playoff berth if they get at least 1 point. Or the Blues lose to the Canadians. Let's see. Andre Burakovsky. Let's go over here. How many points do you have this year? 20 assists. I was gonna say, yeah, his assist numbers aren't bad this year, but like, are you paying $5 million for a guy to be an assist guy? I don't think. Well, you could say that, and then you could say, well, Chandler Stevenson. I'm like, yeah,
Chandler Stevenson is also
he provides
doing,
more. Yeah,
yeah, much
that's
more.
um. Let's see here. He's ninth on the team in assists. Okay, he's got more assists than. Okay, I was gonna say like all the defensemen, but he should have more assists than all these. Um, just with the, I'm sure they're gonna pan us into. They're gonna sweet talk the assists. Like if he scores more goals like he did in the Edmonton game, they're gonna play that. But if he scores more, like this is me unfortunately talking myself into it. If he scores more like he did against Edmonton, then you've got something again. And maybe it is just the long con, but I don't really want to bank on that. And not for
Mm-hmm.
$5 million for a guy who, what was he in the last line rushes? Who is on the third line? I don't want to be paying a third line guy $5.5 million. Um, and unfortunately, this still have, yeah, you've got Jared McCann playing center again. And that's fine. Again, he has played that. I really hated that Dylan with ECH was like, he's played up the middle, right? I'm like, yes, I've covered this theme for 4 years, and I had to put him in my lineup graphic in the middle for the end of the season last year. And because I remember Ron last offseason saying we don't want to do that if we don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing it again. Like,
Is that partially because Stevie is out injured though?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like we'll move Jared to the second line here. Oh, wait, this is without Kako still though. Interesting. Hmm. Because I think Jared McCann's better than the third line forward, but that's line discourse. I gotta finish my Burakovsky thought. Like, I just think that they don't want to admit that they're wrong with him on two players, and they're gonna talk themselves into it because I don't know if they think they can add that many impact forwards. If you bring a Kako back, then you've got nine forwards, right? You're not playing Andre Burakovsky on. Oh wait, no. If you have Chandler Stevenson healthy again, then yeah, then you've got 10 healthy forwards. So like, there's Well, and this is assuming that Jani Nyman's up next year, and he could be. I
Hmm.
mean, he very well could be. This team's conundrum is fascinating. My point being is, I just don't think that one, with their inability to admit mistakes, and two, with like how they it could be a fallback plan. Hey, like we only got one mediocre guy. Let's keep Berkey so we can keep a forward spot there, and we don't have to
Hmm.
rely on a prospect or a younger guy. I don't think he'll be gone next year as much as it makes a lot of sense for him to be. So, um, just for the shits and giggles, I'm gonna buy him out again and leave that Wikipedia alone. Yeah. Do you have any general thoughts on that?
I do. I'm opening puck. Well, I might hold on. I'm opening Puckpedia really quick. Saw Daniel Sprong's name and got jump scared for a
Oh
second.
Jesus,
Forgot that happened. That was like watching the
the savior of the Devils.
yeah. It was like watching the Hughes Bowl today because I've been cursing the Blue Jackets. Otherwise, I was going to watch the Blue Jackets, but every time I've watched them lately, they've lost, and that's not working well. But so I turned on the Hughes Bowl, and then they said Brian Dumoulin, and I was like, "Who? What? This isn't." And then I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. He's a devil."
Does he know that?
Um. Okay, I was looking at his no move clause. He has a 10-team no trade list, so that's also something that if I was
Hmm.
Ron Francis, I would be considering and trying to potentially work a trade out rather than just buying out, especially if you wrap them up with some pretty little draft picks, ship them away.
Yeah, and you know, it'll be interesting. I wonder if that's like a draft night thing where it's like, hey, we need to move a guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think this team can get better next year, and I don't think it's with Andre Burakovsky. Is my point. So
Yep.
there's Berkey discourse. Um, I can throw fourth line Shane into the look at the new lines because it's now in the past because he's now effectively on the first. Oh, my mic change. No. Um, Jani Nyman has been a guy that, again, as I mentioned, I didn't expect to have the biggest impact. I'm not saying he has had this otherworldly impact, but he looked good. I mean, I was really impressed with his debut against Montreal. Um, I thought he looked great. He used his body well. Obviously, scoring's great, but I just didn't expect him to do that. He's got 4 points in 6 games, which isn't the greatest thing in the world, but it's pretty solid. Um, and he's learning. He is 20 years old. He was in his year in the AHL when they called the kid up and say, "Hey, you have to come and play here." I mean, he had 2 assists in the Edmonton game. Yeah. Um, so um, I don't know. I just think he'll get better. I mean, he's a big forward at 6'2", a little over 200. He is young. He's 20, and you continue to collect Finnish forwards
Mm-hmm.
in Sako and Tolvanen. Um, I don't know. I've enjoyed his game so far, and I think that he will be an impact forward at this level. Um, as he, knows what it takes to be at this level. So many guys, not to use Shane as a direct result, but you know, Shane came up here. He clearly wasn't ready to be up here, but he got the experience. He was around these guys. He saw what it took to be up here. He's having a great year now. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, what have you seen from Jani Nyman, and what have you liked from his game being up here?
I am a big fan of the way that he plays. I enjoy watching Finnish players. They're just the way that they move is just I don't know. It's different than, most other players because they're so big bodied is the word that I see used to describe them the most and the word that I usually go for. But I've enjoyed watching him. I do I guess my biggest concern is that they're going to rush his development a little bit. They're
Mm.
gonna have him called up, and then it's gonna be a similar thing to Shane Wright, where he's called up and then he just kind of never goes back. And that's totally fine, obviously, if you're proving that you belong in the NHL, but not every player is ready right away, and that's also okay. It's not, I don't know. I do worry a little bit about the development. I guess is my biggest concern, aside from just I like his game. I think he's fun to watch. You know, the standard.
Oh God. Right. Big injury somewhere else. No, like you related. Um, yeah, no, I'm intrigued because I mean, he's at what, 6 games now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think they'll push him to the 9. I really do. Um, uh, uh, that would leave him at 7, 8, 9. That would be the first Dallas game this upcoming weekend. Hmm. Well, and then especially with Chandler hurt still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they'll go for the 9 games. Um, yeah, no, I don't know. I'm intrigued. Like again, he's a rookie in the AHL. I think I don't know if he looks really good in camp. I mean, the hard shot and the big body give him again better ability than some of the other forwards that they have coming up in the prospect pool right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and him being so cheap right now would help them, if they're gonna be up against the cap like Ron said they would,
Yep.
right? So I don't know. I'm really intrigued by that. I'm just happy with it because he hasn't looked super overwhelmed yet, I don't think. There are games where it's okay, he kind of got lost in the wash.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that's how a lot of these forwards look for Seattle. But I don't think he's looked overwhelmed yet. And I remember his first game, he kept saying, "Oh, it's a fast league." And I'm like, "Yep, yep."
Yep.
I think he'll only get adapted to that. I have just really been impressed by him um, as he's been up here. So, and I'm sure it's nice for him to have Kako and Tolvanen around to help him
Mm-hmm.
with that, especially with the things today about how they've got him on a line with Kako and Maddie. Um, so, um, yeah, Jade, let's get into those new lines.
So, okay, my only concern with the line is the Newman, Beniers, Kako, or I think against the Oilers it was Kako, Beniers, and Newman. I because Kako hasn't played left wing. He is a right wing. I think that was one of his first games ever playing left wing, and uh, I am not a fan of when a player is doing really well and then a coach is like, let's put you not on your natural position or like not your natural, yeah, not your natural position. I don't love that. I feel like a lot of players tend to regress when that happens. And because Kako has been so solid for Seattle so far, I do get a little bit worried that doing that is going to negatively impact the team and then negatively impact his performance. And I have a lot of feelings about Kako from his Ranger days. So I do get a little bit concerned that it's going to kind of come full circle and turn back into that kind of situation.
Sure, that makes sense.
And same thing with Newman. He's a right wing. He's not a left wing. So then now in practice today, he was on the left wing. And so I don't know. Like I said, I just have strong feelings about keeping players in their natural positions, especially when they are producing in that position.
mm
So that's really my only beef with the lines. Aside from that, I think that they look fine. Obviously, that line was effective against Edmonton, but just because it's effective in one game doesn't mean that it's going to continue to be effective. And Finn.
and before I speak, um, any thought, and this intrigued me when I was making the lineup for the Edmonton game on Jimmy Alexiak being dropped to the third line pairing because as I go back to the Puckpedia, guy making $4.6 million a year
Hmm.
should not be on the third line. Um, see, Ron, you can clear up some cap space there, and maybe if a team likes it enough, you can get some out of him.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't have enough time to think about it in the moment because I think, yeah, at that time I had to make three lineup posts all in the quick succession. But I remember looking at the lines and I said, hmm, why are you down there?
Yep.
Yeah, do you have any thoughts on that? Because I don't know, man.
I think that that's deserved. And I know Dan has said before, like, don't look at them and, it's not first pairing, second pairing, like it's not, the lines aren't really
Sure.
um there's a word and I can't remember what the word is, but the lines don't mean a whole lot. It's just that just so happens to be where the player is that night.
Yeah.
I don't think Alexiak has been playing great. I don't know. We have talked about him a lot. Um, but yeah, I don't think it's beneficial to keep a player making that much on a third
Mm-mm,
pairing.
mm-mm. In a different way, it's just like paying however many millions of dollars you were for Brandon Tanev to be on the fourth line. It
Hmm.
doesn't make sense. And especially when you're a team that needs more talent, you
Yep,
have to spend that money somewhere else if you're going to be a productive team. So,
absolutely.
um, let's see here. He did play the second lowest minutes. I mean, it wasn't as low as Mahura. He played about three more minutes than Mahura in this Oilers game. But I don't know, man. I don't think I think that as we've talked about with me and you, with I think RJ and I have talked about this, like you need to shape up the decor and moving a guy like that would help.
Yep.
So I did think that was interesting. Otherwise, yeah, as I get to my like lines, I understand that, and that makes sense. And I was gonna say, in regards to your thought, like normally, yes, as you know, with me talking about Jared McCann playing center, I am not a fan of moving guys out of position like that. It goes
Hmm.
into other sports as well. Albert Rusnak with the Sounders is normally really more of an attacking midfielder. Um, and they had to play him as more of like a defensive midfielder in years past, and his performance suffered because of it. And people are like, "Oh, he's trash." No, he's playing out of position. Like
Hmm.
that's not his strength. So, I get that. I also get like there is the possibility that they find a ways to succeed that way, and they
Yeah,
they learn on the fly and they make it work. Um,
absolutely. And
but
I'm not um like, immediately shooting the idea down. I don't love it. But I agree that they definitely could find a way to make it work or, learn how to really work off of each other. But yeah. Anyways, carry on.
yeah, no, yeah. It was just more of a hopefully that will work itself out because I mean otherwise a lot of these lines like that the two top lines in Schwartz, Wright, Eberly, and Newman, Beniers, Kako. I think there's a lot of fun there. You get two veteran wingers alongside Shane Wright, who has continued to play well. Two guys who can do great things with the puck,
Hmm.
along with a guy who's performing really well and who's young and will continue to learn from them. I think that's great.
Yep.
Um, Newman, Beniers, Kako. I was texting somebody who is a Rangers fan who does like Capo Kako. And I said, hey, so Kako Kako is on another kid line, um, in a way. Um, and then the third line's interesting because Ellie Tolvanen, nice, sneaky producer, 20 goals this year. You know, he's a physical forward. I've got
Hmm.
no complaints about Ellie Tolvanen, and I don't think I ever will. Like, I hate to say this because it feels demeaning to his play. He doesn't do anything great, but he does a lot of things good.
Yeah.
And he's just a really solid, strong, good player.
he's not like a superstar, but he has enough strengths to make up for not being,
Mhm.
the greatest player on the team.
I don't think you need him to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Jared McCann playing up the wing. You got your top point producer playing up the middle with Chandler hurt. Yes. Um, I don't know. It's interesting. I trust Jared McCann to do something like that and play out of position more than a lot of other guys. And then Andre Burakovsky, who again, it's a very small possibility. If he can start scoring like that Edmonton goal on like, then we have a whole other weird conversation to have
Hmm.
about Andre Burakovsky. And then someone said this. I think it was I don't know who said this, and I could be getting wrong. Someone said the fourth line of Isamont, Hayden, Cartier is an ideal fourth line. I said, yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, you
Yeah.
get four guys who are tough, four guys who work hard, four guys who, can produce. I mean, Mikey shoots a lot, he gets net front. Ty, I've made my thoughts on Ty known. Um, but if he really does have the shot talent like Dan says he does,
Hmm.
maybe he can do that. John Hayden, John Hayden sneaky produces. He'll get goals when he comes up here, which is really funny. I think he has a goal against Winnipeg during the first over no. He had a goal against Buffalo. That's right, when they were here. Sorry, I'm going back in my head, and sometimes when I think back to games, I think of them in the photos our guys take. Like Rio has a
Hmm.
photo of John Hayden celebrating his goal against Buffalo. Um, and they can all fight. So
I
I'm
saw
fine with that.
somebody refer to it as the fighting line.
Like oh, that was a different one. I was gonna say, um, that I don't think that was the exact. Oh, was it? Was that the line that got in the fight in Washington? I think it was
Maybe.
because Duhaime did that
Ye-
freak thing where he pushed Ty Cartier's head into the ice,
yeah.
and that was where we got like essentially the line brawl in a way. Um, yeah, no. So that's
God,
my
I want a
thoughts on the
line brawl so
forwards.
bad.
These guys are. That's what I said. If there's any Kraken ever that would do it, it's that group.
Yeah.
First, sure enough. Um, the defensemen, it's interesting. Gunn Larson, sure. Keep the married couple together. Before this year they haven't had issues, so
Hmm.
I'll leave it at that. Evans Montour is interesting. You get two guys who can move the puck well. Um, I think that being with a guy like Brandon Montour should only help Riker Evans, especially after he's kind of had a struggle of the last few months. And then yeah, we get to this third pairing, and I made my thoughts on the Alexiak thing, but Kale Fleury getting the nod over Josh Mahura. Hey, if Kale produces, sure. I unfortunately don't think he'll be anything more than a third pairing guy ever.
Yep.
Because if he would, it would have already happened. But hey, man, maybe you're playing yourself into a new contract with somebody somewhere else.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's where I am with that. Today at practice, I was so tired.
Today's
Stupid.
practice lines were the same, except it was Alexiak and Mahura, and then Fleury was the seventh defenseman.
Wait, what?
Same lines from practice today.
Oh, I was reading Mike's tweet about lines.
Oh,
What are you
Emerald
looking
City
at?
Hockey's up.
Nerds. Wow. So they disagreed on that. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Um,
Either
I was
way.
just gonna say
Oh, I don't
either
know why I thought you were okay. Never mind. I don't know. I'm having a second conversation in my head with myself, apparently.
the voices don't stop. The voices don't stop.
I told you I'm
Um,
experiencing exhaustion at a level never before seen by man. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what you're doing. You need to hibernate. Just
That's
hibernate for the
what
games
I'm trying to
before
do.
Thursday. Um, and then oh yeah, me not hibernating over the weekend. I did not go to practice today because I was tired. I kind of forgot it was happening. But Chandler Stevenson was in a red non-contact jersey. Shoot, I forgot what it was. Was it an upper? I think Allison Lucan
I
said it
think it
was
was
a.
upper,
Let me go back.
which kind of confused me because I still don't
Upper.
even know what happened.
I don't either. His last shift was super innocuous.
Hmm.
So,
If
well, it was
anything, I thought
weird.
that maybe it was going to be a lower body thing because there's a way that it was the video that was posted of his last shift and he twists in it kind of weird. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I could see how that could like tweak your knee or your hip or something. But then
Oh, okay. Yeah.
coming back and saying upper, yeah, I don't know. I'm confused.
Um, well, and I thought it was like going to be a lower body because sometimes I've seen it with where that last shift looks like nothing and then
Hmm.
it ends up being like a groin pull.
Yep. That's
I've
exactly
seen that
kind of what I
happen.
was
Yeah. And so it was just
thinking.
weird after the game for Dan to not give a designation and then the next practice they had to not give a designation. Like he'll at
Hmm.
least give a designation. So, um, yeah, that's your lines. Jayd, where are we at with the lottery pick here? Because again, as we shift over, projected, do we have projected 2025? I know, not NFL, you nerd. Um, because they're what? Are they still at fifth worst in the league? They should be. Don't tell
Sixth,
me you what? Oh no, two.
Philadelphia.
No, why?
uh, because they
Why?
stole the joy and whimsy and love.
I'm talking to
Oh,
why?
my
Oh,
point still stands.
God damn it.
They stole the joy and whimsy and sent it to Calgary.
Well, we have a game in hand, so we need to lose that game in hand.
Hmm.
God damn it. Well, I was gonna say the Flyers goal differential is much worse. Oh my God. Oh no.
Yeah.
Guys, you need to lose more. You have to lock in opposite. Lock out. Stop. Wait, not lock out. Don't say that around the NHL. Don't give them any ideas. Um, so let's look here. Oh yeah, okay. Schaefer, Misa, don't know how to say that name. Hagen. Damn, Hagen just dropped to fourth.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, Porter Martone. Hmm. Interesting. They have him as the number six. So if things stayed this way, Victor Eklund.
I think I've seen a couple people run like draft simulator things. I don't know. I can't remember what they're called. I also usually see them at approximately 5 a.m. when I haven't slept yet.
Eh,
But
likely thing.
yeah, I keep seeing people saying, or like the simulator thing, putting Victor Eklund at the Kraken's thing, draft spot. So that's kind of, it's been pretty consistent on those at least.
Interesting.
But
Um,
yeah, I'm about to lock into draft stuff again, so I'll have more information soon about it.
so yeah, I don't know. How are you feeling about that? Because with where they're at, the lottery is where they should be, right? And is where they need to be. Um, as we talked about it a little bit earlier, but with this year's draft and the potential of trading the pick, but in an ideal world, you're still collecting picks going forward that will make you better in the long run. Um, oh, interesting. This got posted today. And it's from lines.com. I've never used this website. And they just and their mock draft still has the Arizona Coyotes in it.
Oh,
I made sure to check with today. It says March
mm-hmm.
24th, 2025.
Hmm.
Okay. Let's close that. So yeah, I don't know. Just how are you feeling about that? Because I mean there are some names that I know in there. Um, I just wonder, again, they've been winning recently. They've been playing a little bit better. Before the Minnesota game, and I guess maybe if you throw the Minnesota game out, the effort's been there
Mm-hmm.
in just about every game the last few weeks. So I don't know, where are you at with them and getting into a lottery pick, but also what a lottery pick could hold for them.
I'm not expecting a whole lot from this year's draft class. I just want to kind of preface this by saying that. Um, and don't, I don't know. I would almost rather see them trade away some picks, to get some better picks for, next year's draft class or the following year. Um, and or players is really kind of what I am hoping for personally. Yeah, I don't know. This draft class just seems uh, mediocre. I almost said uninspiring, but that's a
Uh,
really mean word, and that's not at all
you
accurate.
guys are uninspiring.
But like, it's not like last year's draft where you had, all these essentially superstar names, future superstars, but yeah, it's just not doing a whole lot for me personally. So I would rather see them get a good lottery spot, maybe, use a couple first round picks and then anything else just trade it away for something better later on.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing this because like Hagens and Schaefer are the names that I know,
Mm-hmm.
and I've heard the most about. Like I've heard of Michael Misa the last few years for sure, but it's interesting to read about how it's top heavy with like four prospects worthy of a first overall selection,
Yep.
and some they throw Roger McQueen's name in there, and then it just kind of goes to a
Chow.
next tier, and I'm like, hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It is interesting because the Kraken to me are I would argue one of the most two or three most interesting teams in the city right now because of all of the cap space they have and all the picks. Yes, but there being caveats to that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because even so, like NHL free agents, because I don't know who's going to be who's available. There's a few guys that could be available. They show Robin Leonard available. Yeah, I'm good, dog. Let's not do that. Um,
Mitch Marner is the first one that comes to mind, except no.
speak your truth.
No, it's gonna get me put on a watch list. I'm gonna sound
Speak
like
your truth.
Milo.
We're here
If
and we're here for a reason.
if Toronto doesn't re-sign Mitch Marner, I will not commit
Oh,
crimes for
because
legal
of your
reasons.
Toronto thing.
Yeah.
God. Um,
I would like to
yeah,
see Brock
let's
Besser in Seattle.
Brock Besser's got to be on that list, but I think let's see. Okay. Well, it's interesting because there are a few names that like aren't geezers that I would be happy with this team. And then there's the geezers, like John Tavares. Nope. Jamie Benn, nope. Nick Backstrom, nope. Claude Giroux. Don't get any ideas. Nope. I saw you perk up. No, no. Bad. Brad Marchand. No. As much as it'd be funny. TJ Oshie, after he became a Trumpy, fuck TJ Oshie. Um, See, there's a lot of older names in this
Mm-hmm.
free agency. It's really fascinating. Hey, Yanni Gord's available. um, you know, Unfortunately, I think you have to make a run at Mitch Marner if he becomes available. If he
Mm-hmm.
becomes available, you absolutely have to make a run at Mitch Marner. I don't care what people say. That is like as much hatred or whatever weird feelings you want to have about the guy. He is a level of forward you have not had.
Yeah.
You absolutely make a run at him and you throw everything you can at him.
Mm-hmm.
God, he was only making 10 million well, 10 only making 10 million
Sam
dollars would
Bennett
change
is
my life.
also he's a little
Is
bit
he
of an
gonna
older
be?
name, but Sam Bennett is gonna be a UFA.
Oops, I clicked the wrong thing. I just want forwards. Is he? Why
Yep.
did they? Oh, because he's lower. Yeah, he was only making 4.4.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I'd go after Sam Bennett, but I
And
think
there's
I
some
think you're
history there too with him being a Panther.
yes. Yep.
Not that
Enter.
we need to take the entire Panthers team, but
I mean, I, I mean, with
not all of
what
them.
back-to-back cup appearances
Yeah.
and potentially a third. Yeah, I think you're not to use like what we talked about with the draft. There's a tier here. You make the best run you can at Mitch Marner. You sell him at being the guy.
Hmm.
And even if you do get him, I'd still go after a Brock Besser too. Like you need that talent. I think Brock Besser would be a great complement piece. Um, if you bring in, yeah, Mitch Marner, get Brock Besser, and if you need to move some guys, move some guys.
Hmm.
If you're bringing in those guys and you need to make room, then buy Andre. I'm sorry, get out.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, then it gets interesting. I'm like Nick Ehlers is interesting. I don't think you get all three, but hey, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Ron gets all three of those guys. I will do something crazy. Uh, um, then it gets interesting. Fuck you, Patrick Kane. Um, yeah, then the list gets interesting. Oh, Jeff Skinner's a free agent. That's fascinating. Um, then we kind of get into this next level of guys. You still need to re-sign Capo Caco. Um, wow, Ryan Donato and Morgan Geeky are free agents. Kraken fans
Oh
are gonna
my
go crazy.
God.
Oh Jesus. So yeah, I mean, it just like you've got all those guys available, and you've got the draft picks. Like,
Hmm.
so I don't know. It is interesting to me. They are fascinating, and the summer will be not only will it be our busiest summer ever here at CSS, but for the teams that are actually playing, but for the Kraken too to hopefully
Yeah.
do something. So, I'm not even really worried about the D at this point. Like forwards is like where the focus needs to be. So, yeah. All right, Jade, let's close this out.
Yep.
Looking at the week ahead, you've got Calgary on the road tomorrow at 6 o'clock on normal Kraken Hockey Network in Kong. That wraps up a 4 game stretch before they come home for uh 3 games. Yeah, 3 game homestand. Oh yeah, and then the first week of April, I have to go to San Jose and Los Angeles. Yippee! Before funny because the game after that Kings game, they play a back to back in Utah. Can't wait to make it 0 and 12 on back to back.
Yeah. On the bright
Um,
side, that is the last back to back of the season.
so they can stop getting scheduled losses, is what you're saying?
Yeah, essentially.
Speaking of scheduled losses, they play the Oilers on Thursday.
Yeah.
um, they play the Oilers on Thursday at home. Kraken Hockey Network King 5 Pong. That is also Mariners opening day. So that'll be interesting to see. Not only the difference in crowds, because the last 2 years now, whenever the Mariners are back, I start to see the crowds at Climate Pledge get lighter.
Hmm.
Uh, and then they do this weird thing this weekend where they play the Dallas Stars. Jade, remember, this is a 7:30 start on Saturday.
Okay, good to know.
Um, Kraken Hockey Network Kong against the Dallas Stars. Jason Robertson, my Filipino prince. Um, they have the day off Sunday where me and Jason are gonna hang out. You can't come. I'm sorry. It's just Filipinos only.
It's okay.
Um,
I'll live.
and then they play the Stars again on Monday.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know why. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Um,
And then after that, there's only 7 games left until the end of the season.
Jesus. So wait, okay, let's do the home games. So that's 3 here,
Hmm.
5 home games left, Jade. Can you believe it?
No.
I'm gonna miss 3 of those. Sad. Sad cry. I was gonna say, what's a successful week look like, but we kind of want an unsuccessful week. Goddamn Flyers. Tell them to win more games. And
I'll
this is
try to
where Jade
relay the
goes, don't you
message.
think I've been trying to do that? So, oh boy. All right. Well, I don't know. At the end of the day, it was good to be back with the show. Um, after being in Arizona and my head being, it's still kind of red. Look at that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm missing a week, you know, not fun. I like doing these for a million of things. So, and it's also interesting with the Kraken just kind of being in the we aren't doing anything kind of. territory,
Hmm.
So it's nice that we'll have this week one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. We'll have three of our six weekly shows. I was gonna say our storm show isn't weekly. It just kind of went. Even them, there's nothing really going on. Uh, they're at a very dark point, not dark, but quiet point in the um, off season. So yeah, well, we'll see you next week. I looked at the wrong camera. I don't know why I looked over here. Uh, from Delirious Jade and Tired Charles.
Yippee.
Take care of yourselves. Be well. Do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey. Where are you going to watch all those Kraken away games?
Kraken away games, making a push. I was thinking of coming here just because Rough and Tumble is the home of circling Seattle sports, only if that's okay with you.
I mean, I love that idea. Hope to see you here.